BFOD Squad. Welcome back to another episode, Barrel Full of Daryl. So last week I asked, I said, gave you a lyric, more of an interjection call, and it said, I got blisters on my fingers. I asked if anybody knew that song. Well, if you don't know, and if you didn't look it up, it's Helter Skelter by the Beatles, White Album. What about this one? I've got a grand piano to prop up my mortal remains. Can you name that song? I'm impressed if you can. So here we are, Season 1, Episode 37. I'm thinking after Episode 52, I'll roll over to Season 2. By the way, I'm Daryl, and what I do on this show is discuss music, movies, and throw in a few other niceties. So music-wise, there was a band from Limerick, Ireland, called the Cranberries. I hope you are familiar. They formed in 1989, and the original lineup consisted of brothers Noel and Mike Hogan on bass and guitar, Fergal Lawler on drums, and Neil Quinn as lead singer. Well, the band's name at the time was Cranberries Saw Us. Weird. And they released one EP in 1990, after which the singer Quinn left the band. So the three remaining members placed an ad for a female singer, and in mid 1990, an 18-year-old Dolores O'Riordan bicycled to the audition. Noel Hogan gave her a rough demo tape of their music, so Dolores took it home and wrote lyrics and overlaying melodies, which laid the basis for the band's future material, actually. And 1 week later, she returned to the band and sang a rough version of the song Linger. Well, the boys in the band were blown away, noting that her voice was something special. Noel Hogan elaborated and said she was so small and quiet and then she opened her mouth and this amazing and huge voice came out for the size of her. Let's talk about her voice. As with Sinead O'Connor, it's singular and instantly recognizable. She had a lilting mezzo-soprano voice with a signature yodel, the use of mournful keening, and a strong Limerick accent. As one critic put it, she had a high, airy tone that could turn ferocious without warning. In case you don't know, mezzo-soprano is a vocal range between soprano and alto. Seems like they could have just called it soprano-alto. So Dolores became the main songwriter and vocalist for the band, which they renamed as the Cranberries and began touring Ireland. In 1992, they had a headlining tour in the UK and Ireland to promote the pending release of the first album, titled Everyone Else is Doing It, So Why Can't We?, which was released in 1993. This album gave them two hit songs, Dreams and Linger, which are lovely ballads, great songs. They actually caught the attention of MTV, which put their music in heavy rotation. And by 1994, they were touring North America, drawing audience sizes about 12,000 people per show. However, they really hit the big time with the release of their second album, titled No Need to Argue. This album has the beautiful ballad Ode to My Family, as well as the hard-rocking protest song Zombie. So Zombie has been described as a masterpiece of alternative rock, with grunge-style distorted guitars and shouted vocals. It's a great song. I can recall seeing the music video for Zombie and thinking, what the fuck is this? Well, this song's amazing. And during a ride through town today, my wife Lisa and I played it repeatedly. But this song brought them international acclaim, and the Cranberries had a big hit on their hands. As I said, it is a protest song, and Dolores wrote it after the IRA placed a bomb in London that killed 2 children and injured 56 people. You see, this was still the time of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and unfortunately, bombing had become damn near way of life, I guess. And you can really hear the passion in Dolores' voice when she sings this song. I'll tell you now that Dolores died by drowning in a hotel bathtub in 2018 due to alcohol intoxication. After her death, Zombie became a stadium anthem for teams in Limerick, as well as the Ireland National Rugby Union team. Throughout her life, Dolores suffered from depression and was diagnosed in 2015 with bipolar disorder. Following her death, the group disbanded. Over the band's career, they released 8 studio albums, 3 live albums, 23 singles, and 21 music videos. Now, Dolores was truly the heart of the Cranberries, and there would not have been a Cranberries without her. So rest in peace, Dolores, and please listen to the songs that I'm placing on the playlist. I hope you've heard them before. If so, enjoy. And if you haven't heard them before, strap in. Good music. And now the news segment, Just Roll Tape.
Have you ever seen the Woodstock, I think it's called like 3 Days of Peace, Love, and Music documentary?
Like a movie, or?
It's like, it is, yeah, it's a movie, but I think it's like documentary style. And it's fantastic because and if you get the extended version of it, it shows a lot of like concert footage. So you got, basically all your big bands. I don't know if I think Grateful Dead was there, but I don't think they're displayed, or if they don't have footage of it, or if they just didn't have a good set or something. But they've got some incredible footage. They have the footage of Jimi Hendrix, which is like the highlight of the whole thing.
Joe Cocker.
Yeah, Joe Cocker, a crazy bastard. What were you just saying about Joe Cocker recently and his?
Well, I reviewed the movie The Commitments.
That's right, yeah.
About a soul band. Mm-hmm. Guys in Ireland wanting to create a soul band.
And you said the guy does a good impression
of... The lead vocalist, I mean, he's got all the tics and the mannerisms that Joe Cocker
One
has.
thing that I wasn't clear on when you did that podcast was the guy impersonating Joe Cocker, or was he doing his own thing, but it was like inspired by?
It looked to me like he was ripping him off.
Okay, so he's not Joe Cocker. His character is not Joe Cocker.
No, his character is not Joe Cocker. Okay. He's just...
Whereas like...
kind of assuming the persona.
John Belushi does an impression of Joe Cocker.
John Belushi does a damn good impression of Joe Cocker, and I think it pissed Joe Cocker. Because he was out on Saturday Night Live singing.
Yeah.
And John Belushi just walks on stage dressed like him.
Oh, that...
stands right next to him and joins him singing.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that they were on stage at the same time when he did that.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess he had never seen footage of himself.
And I mean, Belushi just kind of goes nuts with it, rolling on the floor and everything.
Yeah.
And I think it really And it hit Joe Cocker hard for him to have done that. But I mean, it's classic footage.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. Boy, that's sad though. The first time I saw Joe Cocker perform, I'd heard his music 100 times, and then I saw him on something. It was probably like archival footage. I probably saw him for the first time in like the '90s or something. But I was like, "Is this a joke? Is this for real?" And then when whoever I was with, they're like, "Yeah, that's really Joe Cocker."
I mean, he looks like a tweaker.
I thought
right?
it was, yeah, like he does seem like he's got some sort of mental issues,
some affliction.
Yeah, he,
But
he does the Wonder Years theme song, and so in being in the '90s, I had heard that incessantly. It was on every night, probably. That's the same guy.
I mean, from day one, he was always, that was just his mannerisms.
Yeah.
That was just, and it really looks like some sort of epileptic tick or something.
Right.
When he sings, but yeah. Of course, he got famous covering the Beatles songs. She came in through the bathroom window.
Huh.
And the Beatles heard him covering their songs. And they all got together. I mean, that's what made him famous to begin with.
Yeah.
He does such a good soul felt rendition of the Beatles songs. It doesn't sound anything like the Beatles song being played and him just singing along to it. He made it his own. I'll get by with a little help from my friends, and she came in through the bathroom window. That's two of the ones he did. Yeah.
What was his biggest hit? Aside from Wonder Years.
He did a duet. You lift me up where I belong. You lift me up where we belong. I can't remember who he did that duet with.
You lift me up where we belong.
That's it.
That's the song? That was him?
That's him, and I think Rita Coolidge, maybe.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's not. I don't picture him singing the song that I'm thinking of.
Oh, another one was "You're So Beautiful."
Oh yeah, that's
You're
right.
so beautiful to me. Oh my God.
That's another cover song, right? Because that wasn't his.
I don't know.
I know there's a couple of recordings of their.
That was a huge hit for him. And now a word from our sponsor. Be right back. Well, hello to the nice barrel full of Daryl podcast listeners. My name is Willie Ray Parlay, and I'm the librarian here at Scratch Ankle Library. Well, it ain't a real library. I just got some used books here on my front porch that people can borrow either for reading or for toting around so people think you're smart. Let's see, what have I got on hand right now? But there's a real thick one called Moby's Dick. Must be erotica. Then there's one called Jane Eyre. I think that's it, yeah. And Robinson Goes on a Cruise, and Warmth and Peace, and Tom Sawyer. Must be a peeping Tom. Here's one what's cover fell off. It's called Catcher in the Rye. I wonder why she's out there in the rye. Anywho, if you come to Scratch Ankle for a visit, stop on by for some good reading material. God knows there ain't much else to do around here. My house directly across the street from what used to be Ricky Ray's meat market and bait shop. Just a bunch of ashes now. Anywho, hope to meet you real soon. And we're back. Movie. Let's see. I watched a pretty cool movie on Prime the other day. It's called Companion. It was just released this year. It's basically a love story, but it's got a lot of gore, sex, and death, and vengeance. All the key ingredients for a great movie. And if I say too much about it, the spoilers will be dripping from the ceiling, so I'm just going to mention it and entice you to watch it. I think you'll like it. Instead, let's talk about the movie Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It's in my top 10, top 12. I've been hesitant to discuss it because there's a lot going on and a lot of characters and several subplots, but I'll try to do it justice. It's a British crime comedy released in 1998, written and directed by Guy Ritchie. It takes place in London, present day. Now, I really like Guy Ritchie's movies, especially this one, which was his directorial debut. As was, I like his second movie, Snatch. Now, these are both gangster films, and typically the entire cast is made up of British actors, as well as actual criminals in some cases. In fact, I don't believe Lock, Stock had any American actors, but Snatch had Brad Pitt and Benicio del Toro. Well, they both starred in Snatch, and they were the only Americans in both of the films. But these movies are dark comedies with a lot of British humor and dialect. They're also rife with evil underground characters, and they both have great eclectic soundtracks. Now, on first watch of Lock, Stock, I didn't know any of the actors, and it really gave it a fresh look to me. Actually, the only actor I knew was Jason Statham, who played in both movies, Lock, Stock, and Snatch. But Lock, Stock was his first film. Now, after watching a lot of stuff between watching these movies, I can now recognize some of the actors in other shows, and I'm like, hey, I know that guy, Lock, Stock. Or hey, I know that guy, Snatch. So here's a synopsis of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Four friends, one who is a card shark named Eddie, have saved up money. And they each contribute £25,000, totaling £100,000, to get into a high stakes card game with a really mean guy called Hatchet Harry. Now, the game is rigged, and they end up owing Harry £500,000, due in 1 week. And the henchman tells them that for each day late, a finger gets cut off of each man. So yeah, they're up Schitt's Creek here. So later on, Harry sends his debt collector, played by Vinnie Jones. Don't know if you know Vinnie Jones. He's or was a well-known soccer / football player. And he sends Vinny to the bar owned by JD's father. The bar owned by Eddie's father, JD, played by Sting, to inform him of this debt, and if not paid on time, then Hatchet Harry will acquire the bar. So, upon returning home after losing the card game, Eddie hears his neighbors through the adjoining wall talking about a plan to rob cannabis growers of their cash and their drugs. Now, these cannabis guys, quite a group of stoners, they live in a large flat with hundreds of pot plants and stacks of money. So Eddie and his friends plan to wait for the neighbors to return with the stolen goods and then rob them. So when this finally happens, there's much shooting, much violence, much death. But the friends make off with the cash and the cannabis. Now, there is a subplot in this film involving two expensive antique shotguns, thus the movie title. Hatchet Harry sees these shotguns being advertised at an auction and tells his enforcer Barry to steal them. So Barry hires two bumbling thieves, and of course they blow it. They end up selling the shotguns to a local fence. Ruh-roh. Now let me summarize from here. Hatchet Harry gets killed, and JD gets to keep his bar. The debt collector returns the bag of money to Eddie, but the bag is empty except for the catalog showing the antique shotguns. Now, Eddie's friend had acquired the shotguns from the fence to use while robbing the neighbors, and oblivious of their worth. Since the shotguns were evidence of their heist, Eddie had instructed one of his friends to throw them off of a bridge into the river. But when they see the magazine, and how much these shotguns are worth, they frantically try to call this guy and have him not ditch the shotguns. So the final scene, he gets the shotguns out of the car and he goes to throw them off the bridge, and they land on a ledge a little bit lower. And he's struggling to reach them to finish throwing them into the river when his phone starts ringing. It's his friends trying to call him and tell him not to ditch the shotgun. But because he's struggling trying to reach the shotgun, he's got his phone in his mouth and it's ringing. And the final scene just shows him looking at the camera with the phone ringing in his mouth. I really like this movie. Great scenes, great acting, and the characters are just, they're played believably, but they're really unbelievable. The cinematography is awesome and groundbreaking. The card game scene where Hatchet Harry is cheating will almost turn your stomach. It's very devious. And Eddie really should have won the game, but he ends up stumbling outside and throwing up on the sidewalk. I honestly can't remember which of these movies I watched first, this one or Snatch. In my opinion, Snatch is just a little bit better than Lock, Stock, but they are both must-see films. And Snatch has more plot twists and more characters, and like this one, it would really be hard for me to discuss with you, but I might give it a shot in the future. In Snatch, Brad Pitt plays a gypsy who's an amateur boxer, and you can barely understand his dialogue. So if you watch this movie, have subtitles on. And both these films have some of the same actors. And if you haven't seen either of these films, Snatch is streaming on Netflix, and Lock, Stock can be rented on Prime Video. But if you want a little taste of Lock, Stock, there's a documentary on Netflix about the making of it. It's very cool. By the way, at the time of making this movie, Lock, Stock, Guy Ritchie was married to Madonna. Somehow he made it 8 years with her. Another, by the way, if I've sparked your interest in Lock, Stock, but you only have time to watch one movie, make it Snatch. The characters played by Brad Pitt and Benicio del Toro are worth the viewing alone. I promise you. So, word of the week. vacuous. Vacuous. It means emptied of or lacking content. Marked by a lack of ideas or intelligence, inane or stupid. Now, the word vacuum shares the same Latin root word vacuus, also the root word for evacuate. So if you know a vacuous person, you could probably call them vacuous to their face, and they might think it's a compliment. Joke of the week. God, I can't tell this one. I'm sorry. I've come up with another one. Come back to that. Question of the week. Last week I asked which language has the most definitions for the word snow. I gave you a hint. So let's talk about that first. Which language has the most definitions for the word snow? You may have guessed the Eskimos, and you'd be wrong. The answer is Scots. Scotland has 421 words and expressions related to snow. And the Eskimos, the Inuits, only have 50, four things. Now, the University of Glasgow has a project to complete the first historical thesaurus of Scots. And here are a few examples for snow. Snaw, S-N-A-W, is the general word for snow. Flindrican is a light snow shower. Skelf is a large snowflake. Spitters are small flakes of wind-driven snow. And sneasel is when it begins to snow. Okay, new question of the week. New question of the week. Why do your lips not grow hair? Thought of the week. Common sense is like a deodorant. Those who need it most never use it. Okay. Joke of the week. I promised I'd come back to this. That other one was just a little bit, maybe a little bit too raunchy for my general audience. Okay. Joke of the week. Two nuns walk into a bar, but the third one ducked. Don't forget about the Barrel Full of Daryl Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube playlist that accompany this podcast. Some great Cranberry songs on there this week. As a reminder, you can contact me anytime by clicking on the send me a text button in the episodes or directly at bfodpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget, the podcast episodes have an option to support my show. This is a feature that allows you to send me a little bit of money each month, and your donation would help me buy some stuff. Who knows? Thank you for listening, and I certainly hope you were entertained. Bye for now.